and meeting is now streaming. So hi, you guys. Hi, Ian. Hi, Carly. We were just chatting about how this is like, you guys are extended family of you are family, you are a part of the community. So this is like, we're all just hanging out, talking. But what you are up to is not small. So we're gonna, this is probably the first of many conversations, but feel free to continue to share as you hit these milestones and have different things launched within this company, which is so exciting. So I already, if you're on our email list, then you got a little, we gave a little shout out to basically, Ian's been like a celebrity in the group because he's shared. You are, you're taking chances. You're kind of just all the different recipes, not only beautiful, but they're interesting and they push the envelope. So it's, no surprise to me that here you are kind of pushing the envelope and doing something different and something that is so really in demand. Like here we are talking about bitters, non-alcoholic bitters. So that I am definitely your target audience, although your audience covers everybody. I'm your target audience because I am one of those people who clearly isn't, easily triggered by all the bottles and all the non-alcoholic spirits, but I have wanted to stay away from what seemed like a really high percent alcohol bitters that are out there. And so I just avoided it. I didn't want to put it in my recipes. I just didn't want to, I don't know. I was just like, no, thank you. I don't need it. But I know I've been missing out because there's been so many fun recipes that have included bitters along the way. So enter all the bitter. So what, it says recording paused. I just want to make sure that we're definitely record. I think I was just, I think we should be fine in the group. I see Richard.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure recording pause was just the Zoom recording pause. Okay, so what I want to say, where do I begin? I want to start with the story behind the story, and that's your story and your hospitality background. You guys working at a very famous restaurant and drinking a lot of wine.
Right? That sums it up.
It was a good amount of wine. Yeah, probably a little too much.
Yeah, it's kind of the Napa Valley lifestyle, and that was super fun, but it just didn't work for us with kids. But yeah, we met together working at the French Laundry. We started at different times, but starting there, you have to work your way up from the bottom. So we all started as food runners, then we were back servers, and I was a captain. Then I was a cellar som, then a captain. You were a cellar som, then you skipped captain, and then we were both soms together. So I was there for 4 years, and you were there for 3. But yeah, it was a super fun lifestyle, and we learned a lot. But we learned, that lifestyle doesn't work for us for the long term. So here we are.
Especially not after we had kids.
Yeah.
We realized, the 10 a.m. tastings, the professional tastings at 10 a.m. They weren't really conducive to having kids anymore. And so we both made the decision at the same time to quit drinking and to give up, what we had spent so long focusing on and studying and working towards, to build this career. And so I think when there was a period of maybe 5 or 6 months where we weren't aware of any of the non-alcoholic options until we discovered Athletic. I'm not a brand rep, I just like Athletic. When we tasted their IPA and we're like, oh my God, we get to drink beer still.
Yeah.
We
still like tasty drinks, we just can't drink alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be a bummer. We can still be a part of everything.
So I think, the opportunity and the ability to continue to use what we had learned and what we had been working on for so long in the form of continuing to create tasty drinks, whether it be these bitters or cocktails or, you know, tasting wines and sharing with people in these groups what we've tasted and what we enjoy, has been really amazing, that we didn't have to lose all of that. You know, it was not only our career, but it was our passion. It was what we did in our free time, our study time, our playtime, our work time. Everything revolved around wine, beer, and spirits. Yeah. And so the fact that we get to bring this back into our lives in a way that doesn't get us drunk, but we still get to enjoy these flavors, and to be honest, have more fun now creating drinks and more fun now tasting and talking about the flavors than I ever did before, because now it's only about flavor. Mm-hmm. Now it's not, yeah, this is about flavor, but really I just like to drink. Now it's just about flavor, and it's just about ritual, and it's just about inclusion, which are three really great things. So we're pretty, I think we feel really blessed that we've been able to that this community exists.
Yeah, to have found you guys, to have found this community is huge.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, well, you have such an impact on it, and how wonderful that you are doing this together. And I feel like I was there, like, I don't remember when your second son was born, I feel like, you know, that happened with us, like, you know,
it did.
Every now and then there's, you know, also, you know, a baby, like, with a drink, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Our oldest son loves making mocktails. He calls them blocktails. He likes to fill his cocktail shaker with his little building blocks. He loves, you know, like, I think like most kids, you know, they see you doing stuff and they want to do the same thing. And so Jack will make all kinds of cocktails. He really likes muddling herbs in our, like, you know, spice grinder, mortar and pestle.
He's a budding mixologist.
He loves it. Yeah. He joins us in the kitchen, you know, when we're cooking. But then he'll join me when I'm making drinks, and we go over, you know, the flavors and what it is we're doing.
That's so great. That's so great that kids can be involved. So when was the moment, because you had been experimenting already with bitter, I mean, really everything I've seen, was it Carly that you made the homemade bar out of wood, like, or just like, see, I'm like, it's like I've been to your house, but haven't
anytime
with my baby.
Yes, we have everything for that.
But tell me, I mean, you've got this beautiful home workshop essentially, and probably during COVID, or at least quarantine, I should say, because you maybe had a little more time to play around and be adventurous. But when did that moment come when you're just like, we need non-alcoholic bitters, and I can do this, or I'm determined to do this, I will do this?
I mean, I think like everybody in the pandemic, you know, everybody had their pandemic thing that they picked up. For most people, it was sourdough. Carly got really into woodworking. Carly built
a weird move, but
Carly built 2 decks in our backyard. She built patio furniture. She built our dining room table. She built
we're not talking about
our bar. It's cool though. So, you know, everybody got into their pandemic thing. Carly's was woodworking. Mine was fermented sodas. At first, I bought all the ingredients to make like old school root beer. All the roots that they used to use to make, you know, proper classic root beer. And I was fermenting sodas in the bottle and making non-alcoholic fermented sodas. And so I got really into herbs. I got really into roots and barks and flavor combinations, and the beneficial side of medicinal herbs like dandelion root and burdock root and milk thistle seed.
And gentian.
And everything else. And then along came non-alcoholic beverages. And so we were making all these drinks, and realized that there's no great options for non-alcoholic bitters. There are, you know, maybe 1 or 2, but it's in a space where there's now hundreds of brands of your bar back there is beautiful, and there are amazing and many really great spirits at this point. You know, there's absinthe, you can make everything.
Yeah.
The one ingredient that's really missing from the marketplace is bitters. And like you mentioned, there are folks that are okay using a couple dashes of alcoholic bitters. We still have some, you know, regular bitters at home. I'm okay with that.
I'm not as okay with that, but
yeah,
you know.
But then that's exactly it. You know, everybody's
different, and that's okay. You know.
Yeah.
It's not inclusion.
Everybody has their own personal preference, and their tolerance of, you know, what is or isn't okay in their drinks. And bitters aren't an afterthought in cocktails. Bitters are a really important ingredient in classic cocktails. Drinks like a Manhattan and an old fashioned, you can't make without bitters. It's not a Manhattan or an old fashioned. An old fashioned is sugar, bitters, and whiskey. Without the bitters, it's just sugar and whiskey. So, you know, the other ingredients exist now to make a range of thousands of cocktails, but the one thing that was missing was bitters. Yeah. And so we decided to give it a shot, and we played around, and we developed some recipes. And, you know, I think kind of surprisingly, the first attempts were really good. And that's when we thought, okay, let's do it.
And then after like 100 more attempts, and oh, you should see the Excel spreadsheets he had of like, okay, we do a little bit less of this, a little more of that. It was amazing, and we finally nailed it down. I think.
Yep, we did. I think we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a color coded picture in your, I think it's page.
That was one of many.
Yeah. Got a little bit obsessive there, but I think it was worth it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Especially if you're only going to use a drop or two or three, then there's, you know, making it consistent, making it right, making it fit that label, that. So
it has to be right.
And that's typically one of the questions is that how long did it take? We had 100 iterations, or you started. So I feel like we've gotten teasers from last summer. You knew that this was happening like as of June, maybe, or maybe even sooner, or the name. Okay, well, oh my goodness. Okay. All the bitter. I mean, who came up with it? Who gets the high five?
I was driving to Walnut Creek to go visit my mom, and I was listening to a podcast, and I was having a really hard time coming up with a name. Okay. We had bounced a few things off each other that we liked, but nothing really felt right. And I was listening to a podcast about bitters, I'm pretty sure. And somebody said the phrase "all the better." And right away I was like, all the better. That's it. There's the bitter pun that I was looking for. It seemed to fit and make sense, especially in line with what we're doing, because the idea, especially with our first few flavors, is to make bitters that taste like the three most important classic cocktail bitters that you'll find behind every bar, which is Angostura, Peychaud's, and orange bitters. Okay. And so we wanted them to really fit, just like when you're making an NA gin, you want it to taste like gin, obviously. Right. We wanted it to fit those flavor profiles, but be better than the commercial bitters that you find in stores.
Wow, that's a very confident statement.
It's a lot. Yeah, no, it's a lot. You know,
but I agree.
Did we hit it? I don't know. I think so, maybe. You know, the idea is that they're like those bitters, but better. They're handmade. We're making them with organic ingredients.
They take a lot more ingredients.
They take a lot more ingredients. You know, we're using 3 times the raw botanicals that you would find in standard commercial bitters, because we're not using alcohol. So the same issue that all NA spirits have is you need to put more flavor in there, because water, glycerin, etc. aren't as good, apple cider vinegar, they aren't as good at extracting flavor as alcohol is. They work, but alcohol is a much stronger solvent. And so you need to put more raw ingredient into it. So the idea was to make something that tasted like Angostura, but was better, and was beneficial. You know, didn't just taste like it, but had you know, a functional benefit to it. They weren't just using bitter roots and herbs for flavor, but we're using them to really get the digestive benefits out of it, liver cleansing, detoxifying benefits. By using all of these really great beneficial plants, that you are more likely to find in an herbal supplement. You're more likely to find these things in bitters that are produced specifically for digestion rather than as cocktail bitters, which is what we're making. They're cocktail bitters that happen to be really good for you.
That's so interesting that, and then just a little drop can go so far.
Yeah.
So tell us about where you are at the moment, because that doesn't look like it's your house, but it could be.
I wish, no. No, this is our commercial kitchen. This is a shared kitchen space that we have with a couple other companies. I think there's a barbecue guy, there's a coffee shop that all share this space. So it really cuts down on our overhead because right here in California, things are expensive. So we're trying to find ways to make it work. So we have our little area, our little corner.
We're over that way.
Yeah, we're in the corner this way. But it's just a very clean, brand new commercial kitchen, which we're really stoked to be in. So it was a good find. Ian found this. It was pretty great.
Like we got lucky.
Yeah.
And this is in Northern California, right?
It is, yeah.
We're in Chico.
Yeah, we moved to Chico from Napa about 2 years ago now. A year ago? A year and a half ago. We moved to Chico from Napa.
Okay. Yeah. Now, and you're both artistic, and creative. And tell me where, I love your bottling. I love what you came, and I kind of want to know, here's, there's just that one picture of just the leather and the herb. And that's just like art, but tell me where the vision came to play. How did that come about? Where it just went from all the bitter to the next step, branding, colors, the letters. And you got to shout out, love the t-shirts, what Brian says.
We need to make more. We only have 4.
Yeah.
Brian's like, I want one.
I'll make some more. We'll send you one.
We will actually make them at some point. And we'll have them available on the store eventually.
Right.
But for now, we just have the few that we wear here.
Yeah. You've got your hands full. You got to,
And I mean, honestly,
merch later.
Like right now, for us, it's really one step at a time. We're just trying to get released. We're trying to figure this whole thing out. We've worked in restaurants for the last 10 to 15 years. We've managed restaurant programs and beverage programs, but this is the first time either of us have ever started a business, started a packaged food business,
which is a lot of work.
Had to deal with FDA compliance and everything else. It's a lot. So at this point, we're baby steps. We t-shirts is on the to-do list. Right after launch and start sending people product.
Sure. And is that, so tell us, okay, we're sorry to jump around a little bit, but
I know, sorry, we can get back to that.
Yeah. But launch, have you officially launched, or I know Orange was coming soon, but is anything, because people are getting test product, but what is?
It is all still coming soon. We will hopefully have a solid update for people in the next week. We're waiting on a couple things to line up before we can actually officially launch.
We're just waiting for clearance with the health department and some paperwork to finally be completed and finished, which is a huge process. We're learning.
We're shooting for next month, but don't hold us to that.
I know, we're really hoping we can
fingers crossed it'll be sometime in December. If not, hopefully early in 2022. But we're shooting for December, and we'll keep people updated for sure.
Awesome. And would that be all 3 flavors at once, or would you fill them? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we'll do all 3 together. As far as the branding and packaging goes,
we had some really special people helping with that.
Yeah.
Our friend Casey Kaczynski is a graphic designer, and she happens to be a good friend. She did all of the artwork on the label, all of the lettering, all of the whole design, the packaging and everything. And then Kelly Paleo is our photographer. We had to do the beautiful leather photo, and her style is so dark and sexy and moody. And I think it's so fun next to Casey's kind of, comic-y, super fun and bright. I really like how they kind of work together. It's totally opposite, but We want to appeal to mocktail moms, you know, like me, and we want to appeal to like serious bartender people and, you know, the whole everybody. So it's all about inclusion, really.
I think bitters are challenging is the wrong word, but it's much easier to grab a bottle of gin and mix it with tonic for somebody who's maybe new to making drinks than it is to jump into using cocktail bitters. And so I think part of the idea behind the branding was we wanted to really make it fun and approachable and bright, but at the same time, bring it back to that kind of sexy, you know, cocktail vibe. So we've really got, you know, we're kind of going for the balance between the two, between the kind of bright, approachable, easy, because we really want to introduce people to bitters that might have not otherwise branched out into bitters.
Soda, you know, just having like a bottle of bitters in your bar for like your pregnant friend that comes over, or, you know, if people drink or don't drink for whatever reason, like just have it so it's, you know, bitters and soda is super easy. Or the serious bartender can have it in a serious cocktail. So
Now, speaking to someone who has left the bitters out for so long and is yet playing with so many different cocktails, mocktails, however you want to call it, what is the bitter doing to elevate that cocktail to the next level? Like you say, an old fashioned is not an old fashioned unless it has bitters, right? And I'm like, but I've been drinking my non-alcoholic old fashions, and you know, it's been missing something, right? So, what is it I don't even know how to describe it, or I can't, but I don't even know if you can, but like that elevates it to the bitters makes the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think the simplest way to boil it down and the most important way to really condense it is that bitters add balance to cocktails. If there's a missing element, usually what's missing is cocktail bitters. This doesn't have anything to do with us, but one of, I think, like the most important things that I've learned in making non-alcoholic cocktails specifically is if a cocktail's missing something, try adding a little bit of vinegar. A little bit of apple cider vinegar or champagne vinegar or balsamic is really good in a darker cocktail. Add like half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of vinegar in a cocktail that's missing just a little bit of something. You taste a drink, and if it falls flat, you like the flavors, but there's no finish. It just kind of drops. You know, you take a taste, it's good, but then it just kind of dies off. Try adding a little bit of vinegar. And just like in cooking, it brightens the drink, it brightens the food or the drink. It really elevates the flavors and enhances the flavors. Bitters kind of do the same thing, where they're going to enhance certain flavors. They're going to tie things together. They're going to add balance to the drink.
Okay.
All bitters, not all bitters, most bitters have bitter roots in them. Obviously, that's where the name comes from. Gentian root, we use dandelion root, which is incredibly bitter. Cinchona bark is really bitter. Most bitters use a bitter element, but not all. You'll find bitters that are called bitters, but they might be predominantly ginger flavored or you know, pepper spice flavored or lavender flavored, and might not even
extract.
They might not, yeah, exactly. It's an extract. Some bitters just add a pop of that flavor. So like if you're using
chocolate,
you know, a grapefruit bitters, they might just be heavily grapefruit flavored. So it's kind of an extract that's just adding a pop of flavor to your drink. The classic bitters that we're making do both. They add bitterness, but they also each add their own unique flavor. So aromatic bitters, or Angostura, which is what we're kind of replicating the flavor of. The predominant flavor is cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, allspice. Think of like warm baking spices.
Yeah.
Which complement things like whiskey really nicely, because those are flavors that you're going to find in oak barrels. So when you age a spirit in oak, you often get some of those flavors anyway. So when you're adding a concentrated dash of those flavors, it helps to heighten the flavors that are already inherent in the spirit. So you're kind of like, you're taking some flavors that already exist in whiskey, and you're really blowing them up by adding a few dashes of bitters. If a drink is a little bit sweet, the bitter in the bitters is going to help balance that a little bit. So a Manhattan, for instance, if you're just a Manhattan is whiskey, sweet vermouth, and bitters. Whiskey and sweet vermouth on its own ends up being a little too sweet. But if you add a few dashes of bitters to it, the bitters really balance the sweetness. And then again, add that pop of flavor from the spices that are in the bitters. So that ended up being a much longer answer than I intended.
I love it though, because like sometimes people would ask questions, particularly early on on the mocks, and it was like should I tag Ian? And it would be like not a short answer. And I'm like,
happy to help. I'm often verbose. And I'm
so
I'm
good
working,
though.
I'm working on that.
We all appreciate it, and I think we're all learning from you. How might bitters change a beer? I feel like that's been a thing in our group. With the non-alcoholic beers, like beer and bitters. Like what? Never even heard of that. And so that's something that you'd recommend, or yeah.
I mean, something simple like a Bud Zero or whatever, a Heineken Zero. I wouldn't use like a really nice like craft beer.
Okay.
It works best in lighter beers. You can do it to anything, but again, it's kind of the same idea as bitters in cocktails. Think of bitters. Here's another way to look at it. Bitters are like the salt and pepper of the bar cart.
Okay. Yeah.
You're not gonna base a dish off of salt and pepper, but a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper helps highlight the flavors in the food that you're cooking. Bitters do the same thing. A couple dashes of bitters help to season a cocktail. It does the same thing to beer. You're just adding a couple dashes of a little pop of flavor. So in like a Bud Zero or a Heineken or a PBR or whatever, a couple dashes of aromatic bitters are going to add cinnamon, clove, and nutmeg. A couple dashes of orange in a wheat beer. This blew my mind. If there's one thing that I would like for our product, it's for our orange bitters to replace fresh oranges in wheat beer. Try like a Hefeweizen with a few dashes of orange bitters as opposed to just squeezing an orange in it. And it's so good because you get that orange flavor, but then you're also adding the spice element of cardamom and coriander, which are the predominant flavors in our orange bitters, which again, in a lot of wheat beers, you're going to find flavors like coriander. So adding a few dashes of concentrated coriander extract really helps to pull those flavors out and to really bring those flavors forward that might be kind of subtle in the unadulterated beer, but add the bitters to it and it really highlights them and brings them up.
That's awesome. And thank you for explaining it like that, like the salt and pepper of the cocktail cart. I mean, that's very, now it's like, how did I live without them? Right.
Well, we hope that you won't have to anymore. That's the idea.
It's very exciting. Okay. Well, there's so much to be excited about. Where are people, and I don't want to get ahead, and I don't want, so it's like, where will people shop when, and obviously as the months go on, that will evolve, more flavors will evolve, all those big things, like we are just at the beginning, and that is so exciting. We're all here to support you and, spread the word. And what's very cool is that your audience is really everybody, right? It's everybody. And that's really, really awesome. Where will people shop? You're going to tell us when you launch, but someone need to create an account somewhere, like keep an eye on your website, join your Facebook page, right?
Yeah, we will have an online store, so we'll ship direct to all 50 states when we launch. We will obviously keep people updated on Facebook and Instagram and through our email list. So if people want updates, if they go to the website and sign up for email alerts, you will absolutely get an email as soon as the store goes live. I don't want to mention names yet because nothing has happened, but we have talked to a number of the major online retailers at this point. And as we move forward and launch, you'll likely be able to find us in most of those non-alcoholic marketplaces. So you'll be able to bundle us up with everything else.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So exciting. Okay, well then I'm just gonna leave it to you guys to wrap up and say if there's anything that we haven't covered. Because I think this is a to be continued conversation, which is kind of cool. Is there anything else you want to mention to everybody?
I think we just want to say thank you to the community, to everybody in you know, when we quit drinking 2 years ago, and then we found non-alcoholic beverages, and then we found these Facebook groups, and it was incredible to realize that there was this community out there that could, for us, kind of, you know, could function as a recovery space. And, you know, I know that's not what these groups are necessarily about, but they do end up functioning
Totally.
as a recovery, you know, as a recovery group. But one with a really fun focus where we just get to talk about tasty drinks. You know,
we're just really grateful.
Yeah. We're really happy to have been a part of this group, and to continue to be a part of this group as we move forward into the producer space and go from, you know, wild avid fans, you know, constantly posting, to wild avid fans constantly posting who happen to also make bitters at the same time.
Totally. You're so right. I mean, recovery is community. It's really just not doing it alone, no matter where you are in the journey. And I say I'm a product of the product when it comes to non-alcoholic products. So they keep me sober, and you guys keep me sober, and it's like, and it's fun. I had no idea how much fun I was going to have in this space. So you guys are part of that. So thank you for your time. The recording is here in the Facebook group, but also we'll download it so that we can share it to Instagram, and, you know, share different little clips and kind of look back from 6 months from now and a year from now. And oh my God, I'll have like a toddler screaming in the background. I don't even know what's going on.
It's fun.
It's super fun. Hey, you do you.
We're just figure it out. Along for the ride together. Thanks again, and we'll be looking out for all those announcements.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Take care.
Bye.